Hello guys, today we are going to run our first custom project for tPicoGK. So first of all, we're gonna make our folder, and I'm gonna name it like this, and I'm gonna go inside. And as you know, we need to use .NET, and if you type .NET into your console, you will see these options and this is how you should use .NET. So inside .NET, these are options. You can search for help, information, but for now we want to see what we can do with .NET, and we type like this .NET-help, and these are SDK commands. These are apps we want to run. So you can see there are descriptions for all the applications, and we need to create new project. So you can see here application new is to create a new .NET project or file, and type .NET new, and as you can see it didn't create a new project because it needs some other argument. So here you can see an example how you need to run this new application. So we're gonna just copy paste this code. So now it created our .NET template, and with dir we can see it created a folder of obj and program.cs and second PicoGK project.cs project. Now we're gonna open our project inside VS Code Explorer. We're gonna slide this up, and first of all we need to install PicoGK, and we add a package inside .NET project with this command. And now when we type .NET add, we need to type PicoGK. Okay, this is usage, but it says right here that if we want to run a NuGet package, we need to put this add package PicoGK, and as you can see it added here PicoGK. So this is example we were running in previous video, and inside this project.cs we can see this library.go function. We will need this function because this function actually runs something that is inside this file boolean shows case.cs, because it runs this class, and this class is inside this file. As you can see, this is a class, and this is a function it is running. So this is a class, and this calls the functions inside this class. If you are just total beginner and you don't know what is object-oriented programming, this is probably the way you will type your code. So you're gonna my first function, and this function will print hello world, and you just call this function. This is how you would do it in the Python. But since we are in C#, C# is mostly object-oriented programming, so you will need to define a class, some class here, and this would be inside your class, and now you need to run it like this function inside this class. The same thing is happening over here. So you have this class, and there is a function inside this class, and this function from PicoGK that is starting PicoGK GUI is actually running this class, and from this class it takes this function. So this code actually works like this. So as we know, this is function we need to run PicoGK GUI. So we'll basically just copy and paste it inside our code, because this is dependent on to PicoGK. We just need this. The syntax goes like this: is a size of our voxel. Voxel is basically like pixel, and the more pixels this physical image has, it is sharper. The same thing goes with voxels. The less this number is, like 0.001, the finer our geometry will be. but also much more computational time it will take, you know. So also keep in mind that every unit inside PicoGK is defined by you. They say in the PicoGK documentation that it is in millimeters, but I don't see anywhere in code implementation it is in millimeters. But okay, as you can see here, voxel size is in millimeters. But so next thing to run PicoGK GUI is to pass it a function that will actually generate our geometry. So we will basically delete this for now, put some function inside here that we will change this after. So we'll basically copy our function we need and paste it inside our code here. I will fix indentations, and also we need this public, because public definition is for the if you run it inside classes, you have public and private. So now we have our function, and we have this function that we write GUI. So this is the name of the function, and we need to pass this name inside PicoGK library, because this is how PicoGK works. So if we go .NET Run, we see we are missing some things. There we go, we have so much errors. So actually this library stuff are things that PicoGK project need. Why we get this error? We get this error because we didn't define that we are using PicoGK. So we will copy this and paste it inside our code and see, and we will run it now. And now we get that namespace name vector3 is not also found. This thing is creating three-dimensional vector, and it cannot create three-dimensional vector because this is some kind of also function. This code don't know where this function is defined, so it can create this vector. It is because this code is using this library also, and we need to put it over here. And now, since we defined where he needs to look for this function, now it's green, so it doesn't give error anymore. And let's see if it is gonna run. And yes, let's see. So now I showed you how this code is working. So as I've told you, this is how the beginners would do it in the Python. So they have some function, and you just call this function. But actually, if you have read the book from Lean, he actually describes in these 6 chapters how you should program in C#. So if you read this, you would actually know that this is not good way of creating code. Inside these 6 chapters, he also is talking about how you should think like an engineer. The next step is to write some geometry of your own. So in order to do this, how programmer would approach it? He would go and look for documentation. As of today, as I know, I was trying to search for documentation in PicoGK, but I couldn't find it. And according to the Lean, he says somewhere inside here that there are few functions that are needed in order to use PicoGK, but this still is not enough. Real programmer wants deeper information, how things are made, how he needs to define his functions, what other things he can put inside this function, and so on. So, as I know, PicoGK doesn't have a documentation page like all other projects have. You can actually print classes that are inside the PicoGK library. So, as you can see, namespace is PicoGK, and these are all classes that are inside this library. The good thing is that PicoGK is open source code. So what does that mean? Actually, if you can see, this is a class animation queue, voxels, blah blah. And inside the PicoGK GitHub, you can see there are also animations, .cs, CLI.cs, you can also see CLI.cs, and so on and so on. So actually, this is open source, which means its code is publicly available. So if we want to see what functions and what these classes do, we can just go inside this GitHub and see in the code what this code actually does. So as you can see, this is public class animation, and as you can see, we also loaded this class over here. So inside this file, logically, there should be also this animation queue. But if we collapse this, we can see this animation queue class, and if we drop this, yeah, we don't have any other classes inside. If you know C#, it is good practice to read this code and try to understand what it actually does, because once you do this, I'm sure you're gonna be good programmer, and also you will know what PicoGK can do. Not to discourage you from learning this software, how this program is structured, as of my understanding, it actually has this shape kernel. Already have some predefined geometry, so you just reuse their code. This is my understanding how this project should be run. So you know, you have here examples, and there is bunch of examples, and you can see how they define this geometry. So in the following tutorials, we'll go in depth about shape kernel and see actually what it is and how we defined our own custom geometry in the PicoGK.